Well, it very much is alive. This is a hobble together mishmash episode tonight that was just forced upon us. We had ran into so many problems recording. It took us 3 different attempts over a week to try to get this done, and every single time we ran into problems. A lot of it was AT&T and internet issues just galore. Constant problems there, but we did the best we could, and what you're about to listen to is a pretty decent effort with what we had available. So thank you for listening, and bye. Good evening, ghouls and goblins, and welcome to the end of the motherfucking world. And it's time for episode 40, or something completely different for the evening, taking a detour from the world of the wasteland and instead looking at the world of 90s record companies.
Oh, yeah.
As we look at Empire fucking Records, a movie that you and I both love quite a bit. So
yes.
Why not talk about another movie that we really enjoy for something completely different? Episode 30. Last time we did this, we looked at Hundreds of Beavers, which was a fantastic little black and white silent indie movie about beavers and Dark Souls and lots of different things. The Midwest.
Yeah. It was cool because I hadn't watched very many new movies recently, so
it was a nice little treat of something different.
Yeah, especially because it was a new movie and it wasn't a remake or a video game, or not. Well, I guess now a video game because that Minecraft movie's out.
Yeah, it's true. That movie is out. Yeah.
And I bet I never watched it.
Yeah, probably the same. Yeah. Can't say I will.
But yeah, now we get to go to something weird. I built a little more in our wheelhouse. The past.
The past, exactly. Going back to September 22nd, 1995, Empire Records. That's the day it came out. Directed by Alan Moyle, who brought to us another movie that we have talked about when we looked at our favorite cult movies. He was the director of Pump Up the Volume. Fantastic movie. He also directed Times Square, which is another great movie with Tim Curry back in the day. You'll notice a theme. Times Square, amazing fucking soundtrack. I have it on vinyl. Pump Up the Volume, amazing fucking soundtrack. Empire Records, amazing fucking soundtrack. Everything he did after Empire Records is a little bit inconsistent. It's not quite as good as these three, but these first three that he did were really, really good. Quite good stuff there. The writer of this was a writer who also was a worker in Tower Records. So that's how this movie came to be. She worked at Tower Records and wrote the movie over the course of several years of working in different record studios and places like that in a mall in Tucson, Arizona, I believe, or maybe Phoenix, Arizona. I think it's Phoenix. Yeah. So she was actually went through the transition of like Tower Records buying like a mom and pop record company, a record shop. I keep saying company, a record studio.
That's awesome.
I keep saying studio.
Well, I mean, it's not awesome that
record
happened,
shop. And then so that's kind of what was the kind of the background for the movie. And a lot of the characters are based on people that she worked with and knew and things like that. She would also write other things. She wrote the thing called Love and Center Stage as well. So all of those things. So a little bit about the background. The movie was supposed to be filmed. It's supposed to take place over 2 days. However, when it was edited down. And you can kind of tell that as you watch the movie that it would make a little bit more sense for these things to take place over 2 days as opposed to all taking place within one 24-hour period. But that is what we kind of get. And it was a way, way, way edited down. So I actually watched the fan edition, which adds in some of the stuff that was edited out. So our versions might be a little bit different. So I'll kind of try to fill you in where there's some differences here. But there were 3 whole characters that were removed.
See, I have an idea of, I think I've seen what you're talking about before. I just didn't realize.
Now, even the fan edition does not include the Tobey Maguire scenes because Tobey Maguire was in this movie. He filmed his stuff. He filmed all. If you watch the end credits and pause it, it actually shows you Tobey Maguire and what role he was playing. He had a character name and everything. I don't know exactly what role he was supposed to play because all of his stuff was edited out. He was going through a lot of problems at the time with alcohol, and apparently his performance is kind of indicative of that. And so he actually apparently asked the director to remove his scenes from the movie, and that was a request that they went along with. So even in the fan edition, you don't see the Tobey Maguire stuff that was filmed. So yeah, in addition to that, there are 3 other characters that are completely gone from the movie that the fan edition does have them show back up. So later on, when we get to the plot, we'll talk a little bit about those characters. As far as our podcast, some characters that we're seeing again are Debbie Mazar, who we first saw in Space Truckers, another character that we'll see, and then Liv Tyler, who we saw in Armageddon.
Yep.
Couple different fun characters there that we'll get to revisit from time to time.
Yeah.
All right, so the soundtrack of this movie has become probably like one of the more endearing things about it. Maybe what people most took away from this movie was the soundtrack, and with the director, like we said, also having directed Pump Up the Volume and writing it, and Times Square as well, which is another movie that's very, very soundtrack based. You can kind of get his theme is a lot of soundtrack based movies, which I love a good soundtrack based movie. I think more movies need them. There should be more movies like American Graffiti, where like the soundtrack is pivotal to the movie. Dazed and Confused. I don't know why those movies as much because you got to pay all the music rights and the movie becomes very expensive. But man, it can really save your fucking kind of otherwise bland movie. I swear to God. Because if this movie didn't have like a kick-ass soundtrack, it wouldn't work.
No.
If this was all like generic, bland, corporate rock bands you don't ever heard of, that non-existent stuff, nobody would care about this movie. It would be boring as hell. Gin Blossoms?
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Do you have a favorite Gin Blossoms song?
I actually do. It's one of their, like, I mean, because they're kind of, like a alt country-ish, but
they're like early alt country. Yeah. If you get into if you get past their like big hits, which are kind of like alternative rock sounding stuff, and you get into like the deep cuts of Gin Blossoms, we're probably the only 2 people on the internet talking about the deep cuts of Gin Blossoms right now. But you get into the deep cuts of Gin Blossoms, man. I feel like a real dick at like a record company, a record studio.
Oh yeah, no,
this
like, is high fidelity all
thumbing my nose at your shitty taste. Then you will find Gin Blossoms were definitely an early alt country kind of thing.
Yeah, like the song "It Ain't Cheatin'."
It Ain't Cheatin' is a good song. I really like. I think it's either called. You have to look it up for me if you have a moment. It's called like Memphis. It's Memphis Time or Memphis Meantime. Ooh. I forget the name of the song, but it is a really, really good version of a early alt country kind of Gin Blossom song. I'm looking it up right now as well. I'm like,
I'm going there.
Song? Gin Blossoms, Memphis Time.
Memphis Time.
Yes, that is a very, very good song. One of the many songs about Memphis, which I kind of live in, so I might have a little bias there. Yeah, we're running into a lot of technical issues with the internet.
We both hang out with AT&T, so
we're down with the devil, and the devil ain't down with us. It's the thing about the devil is you try to ride with the devil, but eventually you learn the devil rides alone.
Yep. Oh
we
we get left behind
Quicksand.
a lot.
We do. We're done talking about that series. Thank God. I'm doing the cross on my chest right now. Quicksand is an early emo late hardcore band for those who give a shit, which is probably few. Following it up there, we got A.C.D, which is obviously has a big role in the movie. If you've seen it, it literally is Joe plays fucking A.C.D. And I am not the biggest AC/DC fan in the world, not going to lie, but I love AC/DC in this movie. It makes it work.
Absolutely.
Perfectly.
Well, this song specifically, this movie was my intro to
If
this
You Want
song.
Blood?
Yep.
Yeah. That's the thing with like AC/DC is they have some really, really amazing songs, and then they have some fucking stupid as hell songs where it's kind of hard like, to be like, yeah, that's a good song. Where it's like, ooh.
Oh man,
he's got big balls. I'm like, oh yeah,
yeah, right. This is, what was the? Oh, help me out with the guitarist name again.
Malcolm Young, Angus Young,
Angus Young. One of them. I think it was Malcolm. But he basically said people always say we had like 11 albums that all sounded exactly the same. They're wrong. It was 12.
That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. Next up, we got Dishwalla. There's a deep cut from the 90s.
I mean, we only count blue cars.
We only count the blue cars. I almost made that reference, but I could not for the life of me remember if that was them or another 90s band. Was that like, I was literally in my mind, I was like, is it counting blue cars, or is that fucking at one point they were your name on Facebook for a very long time until I think they made it to where you couldn't do such things.
Yeah.
We have Better Than Ezra, which is a fun 90s band. Love me some Better Than Ezra.
Oh, I love that.
They had some really good songs.
Hell yeah.
And we have Toad the Wet Sprocket, which is another fun 90s band.
It is
just about like the only like really cool 90s band that you don't see in here that I like really wish would be here. I'm trying to think of like a really, really good 90s band that was popular in the 90s and that you don't really see too much of afterwards. Oh God, I had one in my mind and then it escaped me as soon as I brought this up. Do you have any that you're thinking of? I'm Googling the one I'm thinking of right now. Maybe? Wallflowers is a good one. You could have definitely put Wallflowers in here. I'm looking up the name. Ned's Atomic Dustbin. That's the one I was thinking of.
Yes.
Motherfucking Ned's Atomic Dustbin. Maybe the only 90s band with 2 bass players. Because why not?
Why not?
Why not put 2 bass players in the band? If you never listened to Ned's Atomic Dustbin, they are another 90s band that has a silly name, along with Better Than Ezra and Toad the Wet Sprocket. And also, surprisingly, pretty cool. Like, it's not too bad of a little jam.
You know, I will say I'm glad they went with this kind of music at the time and not for something like Spin Doctors or something like that.
Yeah. We don't get any 2 Princes or anything like that here.
Yeah.
Nothing like
or,
that.
No Counting Crows, no.
True. They also don't go with like pop punk, which was getting big at the time either. So there's not like a heavy emphasis on like Green Day, Offspring, NoFX, Rancid, because that would have really, I think, put a date to it.
I think
because like while like Gin Blossom's big in the 90s, Cracker big in the 90s, all those bands, AC/DC more of like a timeless band, 70s, 80s, 90s. Today, another band that's kind of timeless was the Dire Straits, which we get Romeo and Juliet here, another song that plays a pivotal part of the movie, and another band that kind of exists across time periods.
Absolutely, it does. And this song again was introduced to me by this movie.
See, my dad was a big Dire Straits fan. I grew up with a guy. My dad loved Money for Nothing. We listened to it all the time on the radio growing up. And so I had heard this song a lot. This was actually a song I really, really enjoy as a kid. It was one of my favorite songs as a kid, just because it's like a fun song. And then hearing it in the movie, I was like, immediately like, it's one of those moments that as soon as I saw it in the movie, I was like, oh, I love that movie because of this song, right? And I think it's cool that the Gen Zers, those of you that younger, in your teens listening to this, which there are a few, they are discovering the Dire Straits via TikTok and getting into like this song specifically, Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, far out.
I hope if they do, they find this movie and the process continues. May the circle be unbroken. Speaking of circles and being unbroken, we get Evan Dando and the Lemonheads. There's a man that loves cocaine. Allegedly. I love Evan Dando. His version of he does a really good version. It's an all acoustic version of the Skulls by the Misfits. It's very fucking good. Yes,
I might know. I think I know which one you're talking about.
It's a good song. My favorite Lemonhead song is obviously My Drug Buddy. I love My Drug Buddy. It's a classic Lemonhead song, classic 90s song. It is not in here. Neither is there. Which song do they use of the Lemonheads? Is it? Did they do Mrs. Robinson? Is that the one we get here? Because the Lemonheads were mostly known for covers in a weird way.
Oh yeah,
they did other stuff, but their Mrs. Robinson cover was very popular.
See, I've probably
heard it if you've never
got the official
listened to the Lemonheads
soundtrack pulled up, so that's not
Mrs. Robinson. Sorry, we lost you for a second there.
Yeah,
I was going to say that that there's a version of the Lemonheads, Mrs. Robinson, that's just like a little bit more up tempo than Simon and Garfunkel do. That's the song they're kind of mostly known for, I think.
Yeah, yes. Well, that one
that's the
has
song
legs.
that I got introduced. It does. I mean, that's how I got introduced with the Lemonheads.
Yeah,
was that song, and not even knowing that was like they had a punk history beyond that or anything like that. Speaking of punk histories, we have Throwing Muses, which is another like cool, like deep cut '90s kind of grungy punk band. Love me some Throwing Muses.
Yes.
Cranberries.
Oh,
another one. R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Speaking of R.I.P., Daniel Johnston, who I have several tattoos of on my body.
Yes, you do.
He's kind of a big person in my life.
Yeah, I was going to say when he passed, you were the first person I thought of. I was like, well, I got to say something.
Yeah, that hit me very hard. I did. It was very difficult. I went through a big phase where I got really into Daniel Johnston. Like,
well,
I
mean, like for the most part, you introduced me to him.
Yeah. He was probably my first introduction. I don't know if it was him or Wesley Wills to like weird outsider like music, but like both of them maybe around the same time. And both of them I really, really enjoy. But Daniel Johnston's kind of the one I gravitated more to, just because of his backstory and going around Texas as a Ute. Kind of that spoke to me a lot of the time, and his kind of like feelings of alienation and all those kind of
and we share that feelings.
Oh yeah,
we talked about that, right?
Yeah. I was gonna say also the kind of Austin area thing that you're from, kind of
well, because I mean,
from that area.
I grew up in a lot of different places too in Texas.
Yeah,
I mean, we kind of stopped moving around by the time I was
with connection tonight,
making it towards high school. But
are
we? Oh man, see, and I'm
just go ahead and say
I grew up in a lot of different places. We moved around a lot in Texas, so a lot of different places: San Antonio, like New Braunfels. A lot of different places. We kind of landed in the Austin area for a good long time until we came out here. But that was a good intro to good music right there, getting to Austin.
Oh yeah, Austin is your gateway to good music. As soon as you get into proximity of Austin and Texas, you get a lot of good stuff. Yeah. Similarly, we moved around a little bit. Like I grew up in Abilene for a long time, and then moved to Odessa, and then lived in Odessa, Midland area for a while. Then moved to South Texas, Harlingen, Brownsville, McAllen area.
I've never been to the Valley, and I want to.
Yeah, it's hot as fuck. But the food is good, man. Some good food down there. Some amazing fucking Mexican food. I loved it. And a lot of culture, like just a lot of punk bands too, which is nice. Did not expect that when I moved there.
Triple threat.
Exactly, right. And then I moved away from there, and spent time in other parts of Texas, a little passing through Denton, Dallas, Austin, visiting friends in San Angelo, El Paso, Lubbock, pretty much every major city other than Houston, because Houston's just too big. And it's too east.
I've got no interest.
I don't like going to the east, folks of Texas. I feel like that's how you get into the swamp watery people. And I don't trust troglodytes. It's just a standard rule of life. I played too much D&D. Troglodytes always steal your gold. You can't trust them. Standard rule.
Yep, that's right.
Speaking of people you can't trust, we have Gwar, another band that shows up in a pivotal scene here.
More R.I.P.
More R.I.P. Yes. Interesting thing about the Gwar stuff is that was filmed afterwards, and a lot of the character choices that the characters made, like I forgot her name. It literally escaped me as soon as I said this. When she shaves her head, that was at the suggestion of the cast to the director.
Oh.
So they were thinking of like, how can we make this scene more profound? And then that's what they kind of came to. And she was down to do it because I think she knew she was about to go film The Craft. So, kind of worked out. And other things that the director did was he gave every single character a mixtape based on what kind of music he thought their character in the movie would like. So
that's awesome.
I thought that was a cool little way of building background and kind of showing you development there.
Dude, that would actually work for me if a director handed me something like that.
Oh yeah,
that would absolutely.
Yeah, that's I think I like a really good writing strategy. If you want to make your characters have more depth, like, okay, if you're writing this character in any story, what's his favorite band or their favorite band? Kind of give them a little bit of background. Why do they like the music they do? right?
Yeah.
If you look at like American Psycho, one of the best things about the movie version is they really explicitly make that very clear. Like his taste in music is connected to his actions that he's taking, where it's very superficial and squeaky clean. And yet behind that veneer, there's like a kind of like a unspoken little bit of violence to some Huey Lewis songs.
Yes.
And that's kind of fun for that to point out.
Yeah.
Next up is Sponge, another fun 90s little band there that kind of only peaked in the 90s. And then, man, by 2000, they were just, whoop, no one talked about Sponge anymore.
No.
I think it was because of their name. It's a bad name. It's a bad name for a band. It's an awful name. Whoever was on their band should have been like, this is a terrible name. We need to reconsider this.
Well, and I think there's another band named Sponge too, like a more punk.
Oh yeah, I think there is another punk band named Sponge. Yeah.
And I think they're a little more ska oriented. I can't remember if it's this one I'm thinking
also
of.
would not surprise me. Things I'm not surprised of is a ska punk band named anything. Literally,
right?
Any fucking thing. I would not be surprised at this point. Even if there's a band named Any Fucking Thing, I'd be like, there you go. Doesn't surprise me.
No, doesn't.
Next up, in the movie, as the cast member, and also on the soundtrack, and performing live in the movie in one of the more memorable scenes, including the on-screen debut of Renee Zellweger singing, is Coyote Shivers, a man who you said you had some information about.
Oh, yeah. So dig this. Of course, Coyote Shivers, that's the guy's name. It's also the band's name in that he's in, I guess. Like, and
one in the same.
Yeah. So he kind of transcends the whole thing there, but he ended up marrying what was her name? I had it and I forgot.
Patty something?
Piper something? Oh boy.
Something with a P.
It started with a P. That is definitely true. Oh Lord. Well, she's in that one NCIS show that I don't like those shows anyway. I don't like serials.
Oh, the kind of gothy girl from NCIS? Yes. Is that you're talking about? Okay, I know you're talking about. Yeah. I don't know her name either, but I know who you're speaking of. Yes.
Well, he was married to her. And in like 2005, 2006 or whatever, they had a brutal divorce. It got public. They were just, they were saying really awful shit to each other. It's kind of interesting if you want to go look back at it. But Polly Perrette is her name.
Polly. All right. I was gonna say Piper, but that seemed wrong.
See, I was thinking Piper too.
Polly. Yeah,
because when I think Polly, I don't think Perrette. I think Shore.
When I think Coyote Shivers, he reminds me of a less successful Russell Brand. I don't really know why. That's just immediately what I think of when I think of his face. It's just then
then of course it's funny you say that about Russell Brand. He successfully got himself a charge in the UK.
Well, he is as you want to do. I'm not surprised. I'm very much not surprised.
The thing. The Onion did a great job of that. They were like, everyone swore that he was already charged. I was
going to say, I didn't know this was news, but apparently this is
news. This is new. This is a new thing. But I think he lives in the U.S., so he's not going to get extradited.
Nice.
He's going to probably join the cabinet. I said that out loud.
Yeah.
And now he meets
Secretary of the Treasurer. Yeah, he meets the qualifications. What's your background? More bands that are on the show up on the soundtrack. Suicidal Tendencies, an amazing SoCal punk band, fucking doing all kinds of different shit, and show up here in a big way. They're the band that Mike plays during that brief little hardcore scene that he gets before they take the music privileges away from him because he gets all crazy in the morning. Yeah, there's some Suicidal Tendencies right there. All they wanted was a Pepsi. That's it, just a fucking Pepsi. But they wouldn't give it to me. I love me some Suicidal.
I went to your schools.
Yes, I went through a phase where I fucking loved some Suicidal Tendencies, some groove metal with some like spoken word hardcore behind it that gets progressively faster and faster, played by a bunch of like intimidating looking Hispanic men and one white guy who might be gang affiliated. We do not know. He looks like he could be. He dresses like it. Who knows? But yeah, he's here to fuck some shit up. Yeah, I love some Suicidal Tendencies though. Yeah, one of my favorite punk bands growing up back in the day. Another band that I got into probably because of the Tony Hawk games. Not probably, that's it. Yeah. Speaking of bands from Tony Hawk, Adolescence, another one. Amoeba, another band that most people only know the one song from, but they also are. They had some other good punk songs besides that one, and surprisingly, they sound a lot like that song. So you kind of get what you came for that one.
Yeah. Basically.
And the last one that is on the soundtrack for Empire Records was The, which is another great 80s band that carried over into the 90s. They might still be doing music for all I know. But yeah, the fun little new wave band with some pop overtones that I really love The. What is that one song that they're really known for? Today is the Day.
I was going to say This Is the Day or Today is the Day or This is the Day. But then they have another song that's This Is the Night. It's like, all right. They're staying on theme.
Very on theme. I
love it.
Speaking of staying on theme, let's look at the cast. Yes. That's what we do next. Playing Joe, we have Anthony LaPiglia, who has the connection to Happy Feet and Happy Feet 2. So there's our George Miller tie-in. Obligatory one there. Check. Send George a check. Well, thank you. You're the reason we get to talk about post-pop. He was also in that, was in Salton Sea, was in The Client, The Mixed Nuts, So I Married an Axe Murderer, etc., etc., etc. AJ, played by Johnny Whitworth, was in a bunch of little movies. Limitless, 3:10 to Yuma, that horror movie Valentine, about the killer on the Valentine's Day.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's not very good, but it, for some reason, has people keep talking about it online. I don't know why.
Oh, wait, do they really?
It shows up online as like an underrated classic on Reddit sometimes. And I'm like, I don't think y'all watch enough horror movies, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah, really.
You can have your opinion. He was also in Rainmaker. Has another movie that was filmed in Memphis. And it's okay. So if you know, it's fine for what it is. He was in Cant Hardly Wait, which is maybe, if not my favorite movie of all time, my second or third favorite movie of all time. I reference Cant Hardly Wait maybe once or twice a day. In ways that most people don't really even notice or care about. It's just for my own little personal amusement. I like it to say to my wife constantly, whenever she'll tell me anything negative, I'll say like, well, see if I invite you to the reunion, and then just walk away from her. And she never knows what in the hell I'm talking about, because it's a reference to a very specific part of Cant Hardly Wait.
Yes.
For one very specific character who has maybe 3 screen time. He's on the screen 3 times.
Memories, man.
These are our memories, man. It's all right. He ends up with Melissa Joan Hart, so it works out for the day.
He does.
Right? Can't complain about it. If you've never seen Cant Hardly Wait, it's a movie that has a lot of the characters that are in this movie
basically
show up in that movie. And then a lot of the people in Freaks and Geeks are in Cant Hardly Wait. Jason Segel is the stoner in it. Excuse me.
That's the first thing I saw him in.
Yeah, Seth Green is in it. Hewitt. Oh God, I love Cant Hardly Wait. That'll have to be one of our now for something completely different. We'll do Cant Hardly Wait.
I think we're starting to see a trend about ourselves. We dig the 90s, man.
I love 90s like comedies. There's a very specific 90s comedy that I love, and Cant Hardly Wait. I really enjoy it because it's got a very silly premise. But there's a lot of funny like heart in the movie that you can really get behind.
90s comedy, I can't get past it. I can't, like, newer comedies I don't think I watch. I can't remember the last comedy I watched, you know?
Yeah, I can't remember the last one I watched that like really like stuck out that I'm like remembering off the top of my head now as being like maybe the first Hangover kind of stuck out for a brief period of time, but I don't even know if it's aged well because I haven't watched it in forever. So I don't know how Hangover if it's gotten better or worse or any of that stuff. Now that those actors have kind of added some more context to their bodies.
And you
can think about them in different ways now.
Like 90s for me is like the peak of comedy, or like not peak of comedy movies, but like the last peak of comedy movies.
Yeah, like Lorne Michaels and the Saturday Night Live guys that kind of went and did movies that he produced a lot of them. They really laid out like a formula that a lot of movies followed and were very, very successful with. And you can definitely kind of see it. And I think it definitely left an imprint on a lot of people. Speaking of leaving an imprint on us, we have Lucas here, who the actor is shows up in like fucking a lot of things. He's in Yellowstone most recently. He's in Black Mass and Public Enemies, some kind of more historical action-y movies there. Argo, Low Life, 11 to 45, and Dazed and Confused. So bounced the microphone. Some older 90s movies as well. And then one of my favorite movies of all time that he shows up in is one of the major characters that has a lot of fun with is Scanner Darkly, which is a Richard Linklater movie that is based off a Philip K. Dick novel. And that movie is really fun. Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder, Robert Downey Jr. before Iron Man. It's Woody animated. Woody Harrelson is in it as well. Yeah. It's a fun movie. Oh,
it is.
It's animated in a way.
Yeah, like a rotoscope.
But in order for the movie to work, it kind of needs that, because if you read the book, it's very specific about how like the suits work, and the movie does a very good job of doing that. And it would only work with that kind of thing. The story is amazing. It's one of Philip K. Dick's best. Maybe not his best, but definitely one of his best.
Right.
I think Flow My Tears, the policeman said, is his best book. But that's a good one. Next up, and another connection to Cant Hardly Wait, is Ethan Embry, who is the main character of Cant Hardly Wait. He also is a big character in That Thing You Do. He was in Dutch as a child. He shows up in Disturbing Behavior. Is a side character in Harold and Kumar and Vegas Vacation. Is one of the major children in Grace and Frankie, the entire TV show of that, which it was in addition to Grace and Frankie, he was also in Timeline. Travis, Timeline, thoughts?
Fuck you.
You very much hate that movie.
It's because it's one of my favorite books, and the movie just I
never read the book.
Trash. I recommend it. I mean, it's a lot of technical bullshit, but
that's a Michael Crichton book, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, a lot of his books are a lot of technical bullshit.
It is. Yeah, they are.
You did write Westworld after all.
But I really Timeline really sucked me in when I read it, and then I saw the movie, and it.
When I was in 7th grade, I read Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. Fucking loved it. Read The Sphere next. Loved The Sphere. So I definitely went through a Michael Crichton phase as a sci-fi fan, where I read a lot of Crichton, and
I think that's another thing
appreciated some of his stuff.
Like
some of his stuff, not all of it.
Yeah. Well, I think we are more into sci-fi than fantasy. I think that's another thing we share. Like
yeah.
Which is kind of not typical, I think.
Yeah, and I'm not the biggest fantasy. Not as much into sword and sorcery. More into the spacecrafts than anything. But I can get down with some sandals if I need be. It just depends. It just depends. Next up on our cast is playing Deb is Robin Tunney, who would obviously show up in The Craft like right after this, which was a far more successful movie.
I have a weird theory about that movie that is only for me. Like nobody would ever say that this is what was intended. So my idea of that movie, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it here, it's stupid, whatever. My idea is that movie is about, oh God, this is dumb, about a lesbian three-way, if you can believe it, because you have the three girls that like live there already in the town. Yeah. And they are kind of outcast, kind of looked down on or whatever. And then you have Robin Tunney's character that comes into town, and she's a real witch, and so my idea is that Robin Tunney's character is an allegory or a personification of them having a lesbian encounter, basically, between the three of them, because afterwards they have more confidence. They're they are less bothered by they see themselves in a different way, like Nev Campbell's character sees herself as more beautiful. Like it's really stupid. But
you could also say this, that you could also say she represents female empowerment. Yeah.
Oh, is that a better way to say it? I think a better way to say it is the movie stands on its own.
I'm writing an essay. That was how I would present it more so than lesbians and witches. But
it is the dumbest idea I have ever.
As a former college professor, I appreciate your take. Thank you for offering it. Thank you for bringing it to the class.
Oh God.
She was also in Vertical Limit, which is a movie I don't think anything has to do with lesbians, although maybe it has Chris O'Donnell, so it might. You never know.
I mean,
she was also in End of Days, which is a weird movie that we'll talk about eventually. Another post-apocalyptic movie with Arnold.
I don't think I've seen that one all the way.
Fucking movie. It's a weird fucking movie. And the other movie that I wrote down that I think that we should talk about is Encino Man, because that movie is another 90s classic that just fucking is really, really good.
I love that movie so much.
It is good. It is very, very good. Yeah. I love that movie. All right. Well, and yeah, so other characters that show up in this movie is Renee Zellweger shows up as Gina, who obviously she would go on to become a very successful actress literally within the next year, because shortly after this, she would do Jerry Maguire, which would lead to her getting a lot of other roles in things such as Me, Myself, and Irene, Bridget Jones's Diary, Cinderella Man, Chicago, Shark Tale, and so on and so forth. But before this movie, she was in a couple other independent movies that we just talked about when we talked about good old Lucas over there, because she was also in Low Life and Love in a 45 as well. So some more independent movies that she was kind of known for before coming in here. And Gina is my favorite character in this movie. I think of all the characters, I love Gina. We also get Corey, played by Liv Tyler, who would be in Armageddon, amongst countless other things, all of the Lord of the Rings movies, as well as many other things. See our Armageddon review for our deep dive into the Liv Tyler's filmography. We get Maxwell Caulfield, who plays Rex Manning. His most memorable role outside of this movie is probably Sundown: Vampires in Retreat, which is a Bruce Campbell vampire movie that you can watch on Tubi. Hey, shameless plug. Tubi, send me money. Or don't.
Yeah, for real.
Either way, it's fine. And then let's talk about the background a little bit. So how this movie came to be was kind of interesting. We talked about how it was written by an employee of Tower Records. And so then she sent it out, and she happened to go to high school with somebody who worked as an executive who knew somebody who knew somebody. Anyway, eventually it ended up on the lap of an executive studio producer, and they ended up in a little bit of a bidding war. And she's found herself with quite a deal where she not only got paid for the script and got more money in addition to that, but she also got a back end percentage off of it. So had this movie done pretty well, she would have made some pretty good bang for herself. Now, how much do you think they spent on this movie?
Oh, this movie, it didn't look like it cost a crazy amount. I mean, the set pieces is just kind of one location. And that, I didn't really think about it before, but it's literally like just one location.
About one
throughout
location,
the whole movie,
honestly,
for the most part. I can't imagine it running more than like maybe 10. And I'm kind of.
It cost exactly $10 million.
Did it really? Okay.
Ding, ding, ding. $10 million. Yeah. Now, do you want to know how much money it made?
I'd like to hope it made a fair bit back more than that.
Oh, God. Well, you can hope in one hand and shit in the other, because it made $303,000.
Whoa.
Against a $10 million budget. Yeah. So
that is awful.
The movie so the studio that ended up making this movie, like I said, it went into a little bit of a bidding war, because this was mid-90s. Teen Gen X culture was at a heavy impulse. They wanted to make these kind of movies. This was coming out like around the same time as like Mallrats and things like that. So there was this kind of influx of these kinds of movies. So the movie that they almost made over this, the one that they had the other option of making and chose not to, was Clueless.
Oh no.
Yeah, they chose not to make Clueless and instead chose to make Empire Records. And I bet that studio executive regretted that decision for the rest of their life because
I imagine
one went on, both have achieved cult movie status, but one
Yes.
made its budget back at least.
Yeah, I was gonna say like one of those
this one struggled. So one of the reasons why this movie did not really make a lot of money is because of how it was released. So before it came out, they test screened it, and apparently it test screened very, very well with white audiences. But when they test screened it with Latino audiences, they fucking hated it.
Wow, really?
A movie with virtually no one other than white characters in it. Surprising.
Oh God, you're right.
There's not a lot of no diversity in this movie at all.
You're right.
So originally it was going to be released on 1,000 screens, and then 1,000 screens got changed, and then it was going to be like 100. Then 100 screens got changed, and then by the time the movie came out, it was released to 4 screens.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it was only in those 4 screens for 2 weeks.
So
the movie was sent out to die. So there was never any hope of it making the $10 million back. The fact that it made $303,000 in those 4 theaters and for those 2 weeks means that people who wanted to see this movie went out of their way to see it, which is kind of crazy that those people went out of their way to see it. It has since obviously found an audience, has become a big cult movie. One of my favorite cult movies of all time. There's a reason I didn't throw it into the cult movie showdown because I don't know how I could have voted against it because it kind of feels like it beats everything because it has everything you kind of want in a movie, man. Like Rex Manning Day has become a thing. There's these little scenes that show up here and there. They even made a fucking stage play out of it. So like last year, a stage play in New Jersey took off. So apparently the stage play had been in production or tried to get in production before COVID, but COVID kind of delayed it and messed all that up. So it took until last year for the stage play to finally take off. But yeah, there is a stage play production of Empire Records, which if it ever comes to me, I would love to see that. I believe right now it's only in the Northeast. So maybe one day the musical will find its way to Memphis.
That'd be awesome. Or if we could find our way up there somehow.
Yeah, check it out. So speaking of the music, this movie, that's kind of what it's known for.
Yep.
There's a review online that I feel like it summarizes this movie, but honestly does so in a kind of a negative way, which is the review said that it's a soundtrack in need of a movie.
Oh my God.
And it's kind of like, but at the same time, the movie that we get is not too bad once you learn to really appreciate it. Yeah. And I really appreciated it. So
absolutely.
I've reached the time to do the Travis trivia section. Still looking for a theme song. I've not settled on one yet. Some weeks I think about it, and some weeks I just am like, it's not worth fighting the copyright claim again. Here we are, Travis Trivia, September 22nd, 1995. 5 songs in the top 5. All of these are pretty famous songs. So number 5 is I'm not familiar with this song too much, honestly, but she is the sister of the King of Pop.
Okay, so we got Janet Jackson. Number 4 is Something You Should Not Go Chasing. Oh man, I actually listened to the song pretty recently. It was TLC, Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls. Or just Waterfalls. What was the Janet Jackson song?
Runaway.
Okay, never mind. I don't know it either.
Yeah, I didn't know that one either. Yeah, Waterfalls by TLC is number 4 on this day when this movie came out. Do not go chasing them. Please stick to the rivers and the valleys that you're used to.
That's a guilty pleasure song right there.
I love that song. I love me some TLC. Number 3 is the song that's the movie I most associate this song with is Batman Forever.
Oh, Batman Forever. I'm having to go way back here.
Speaking of people who just died, Val Kilmer.
Yeah, I was about to say, Val Kilmer. Oh man, do I remember this? I don't know if I remember.
It's literally the only hint I could give you because it's the only thing I associate with this movie or with this song.
I can't remember any of the music.
Kiss from a Rose by Seal.
Was that on Batman Forever?
It was on the Batman Forever soundtrack.
Oh, wait, yeah, it was.
It has been burned into my mind ever since.
That's right. I'm adding a second movie in between Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, and I don't know why. because there
I feel
was
like you want to force one in there because Batman and Robin just make so little sense. You're like, there needs to be some context, and nope, there's none. You just get thrown in head first.
That's
and you're
right.
Like,
So that's right.
Deal with what's happening to you.
I was trying to put that movie in a weird, like, or put that song in a Phantom Batman movie that didn't exist.
It doesn't exist, not yet. Number 2 is a King of Pop song.
Oh, so we got MJ.
You Are Not Alone. One of his deeper cuts. One deeper cut.
I was going to say that is because I don't know that one.
And the number 1 song in the country was A Place That You've Been Spending Most of Your Life.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I do spend most of my life living in Gangster's Paradise.
You do indeed. Gangster's Paradise by Coolio was the number 1 song on September 22nd, 1995, when this movie came out. So take a little break, and we're going to come back and talk about the plot of Empire Records, a little cult movie and a little something completely different. A little break from the end of the world. So we'll take you guys there in just a moment. See you guys in a second.
See you.
Thank y'all so much for listening. It's been a pleasure coming to y'all every single week talking about end-of-the-world movies. We are nearing into 50 episodes, which is crazy. Doing this for a little while now. And this month, we are moving away from the bad movies we've been talking about last month and instead talking about some elephants in the room. Some big heavy hitters that we haven't discussed thus far. So come back every single week this month, and we'll be talking about things such as Independence Day, A Boy and His Dog, and post-apocalyptic Commando Shark as well, from somewhere thrown in there. Not really a heavy hitter or a elephant, more of a jackass in the room, honestly. But you know, it is what it is. So thank you guys for listening, and every single week we'll keep on coming back, and y'all come on back too. Keep on trucking. I don't have an ending. Sorry. All right, welcome back. Let's get into the plot of Empire Records. Damn the man, save the Empire.
Damn the man.
So I'm watching the fan edition. So my edition's a little bit different than yours in that I have extra scenes added. So I'll talk about those when we get to them. I didn't write all of them down. Not all of them are necessarily like important for the movie. I can see why they were cut. So to say, but some of them are kind of fun to bring up, and one of them at the beginning kind of has a scene that I think you want to talk about because
I was going to say,
been thinking about it for years and wanted to verify if it was in this movie.
That's right.
The movie, this is a movie that they say is a soundtrack in need of a movie. So let's see if that is actually true, or if the movie holds up pretty well on its own. We start at night with Lucas, who is being a very pretentious dick, but is given the job of closing. And they're giving him shit about that. And then right before closing, a dancer shows up and immediately wants to talk to him about music. And then they go in the back and he talks to her about the difference between vinyl and CDs. And this is, I think, what you were talking about.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, he talks about the difference between the two.
Yeah, because, and this was only in the fan edition. I didn't watch this edition, but I also haven't watched this edition except maybe one time, a long time ago, because I remember this one line, and I'm pretty sure it's from this. You'll have to verify this in a second, where they're talking about the records, and he says, some people say it doesn't make a difference, but I say it's the difference that makes it.
Yep, that is exactly what he says.
That is, okay. Oh, that makes me feel good, because I quote that all the time. Like how you quote a very small part of
Can't Hardly Wait.
Can't Hardly Wait. I quote a part cut out of
Empire Records. I like it. It's very specific.
Why don't people like us? No. Why don't we have more friends?
So as he speaking of not having friends, Lucas is about to lose a few here. Because after the dancer leaves, he's looking through Joe's drawers and the cat and his clothing, and he finds a piece of a letter that basically insinuates that Music Town is going to buy Empire Records, and they will become part of a chain, which is kind of like referenced in how the movie was written, where the author was working at a similar studio, a similar record shop. Spend thousands of dollars and head to Atlantic City because he's a responsible soul. And this is where he's gonna, you see immediately he's got some good luck. He's kind of like a gambling savant. He walks around hitting jackpots for old ladies, got a lot of luck on his side. And then I can see why they cut out the woman who he meets, because he then meets another lady in Atlantic City who doesn't necessarily talk to him too much, but she definitely flirts with him, which is kind of the same thing this woman does here. She flirts with him a lot, and then she kind of leaves. They talk about records. Here they're talking about like more, I think he flows like some philosophy at her. And then immediately fucking Snake Eyes and loses all of his money. So, yeah, as you do.
Flew too high, too close to the sun, you know?
Yes. Much like Icarus. Much like Icarus. So we then cut to daytime, and Lucas is still coming back to the shop and has a lot of regrets.
Sleeping on a motorcycle in front of a shop, you know?
Exactly. And so two of the guys, AJ and Mark, meet him, and they kind of talk to him, and they get some ideas that something a little fucked up happened because things didn't go quite as planned. And then we cut to the girls who are getting Renee Zellweger's character. Deb is picking up Corey, Liv Tyler's character, to take her to work. And it's Rex Manning Day, and this is when we learn that Corey, is going to try to have sex with Rex Manning. She is 17 in this movie, is what we're told, and Rex Manning is like a hard 38.
Yeah.
Like at least 38. And there's some differences here about what he says to her, he says something way more disturbing than I expected. And actually, he was in the news today. We're recording this a couple of days after Rex Manning Day itself this year. Missed it by that fucking much. I did watch the movie again yesterday, and I actually read an interview with the character that the actor that plays Rex Manning. Yeah. And he was talking about another scene that was cut where him and Coyote Shiver's character talk about like how to make music together. And it's kind of insinuated that Coyote Shiver's character might like be kind of like leaning towards a sellout.
Oh,
but it was also supposed to humanize Rex and make him be like more of like, yeah, like I like talking about some things. I'm not just a total sex pest. So I thought that was interesting that he was just recently talking about scenes that were cut out of this movie. Because like we said in the background, there's like almost an hour gone from this movie, about 45 minutes just gone. So they filmed a lot. The fan edition adds back on a little bit, but nowhere near what you might think. Nowhere near. So AJ just decided he's going to tell Corey, who he works with, who wants to have sex with Rex Manning today. AJ decides he's going to tell Corey he loves her by exactly 1:37. And as he's telling Joe this, Joe is looking for his $9,000 and for where the fuck Lucas went. So they start getting ready for work. And this is one of my favorite scenes because I identify with this scene a lot. As a person who wakes up at 5 a.m., I drop my wife off for work at 6 a.m., I get to work at 6:50, 6:40, and then I'm at work usually by myself. I'm the first person there at my school until usually about 7:10, 7:15. So I have like 20, 30 minutes where I am completely by myself other than the cleaning crew in a high school. And all I do is I put on my headphones and I listen to music as I get ready. So I can completely relate to these people as they listen to music and get ready. Would you like to hear what music I listened to this morning to get ready for work as I prepared my lesson plans for next week and got everything ready to go? I'm trying to not have it play. So I'll just give you the first like 5 songs. We'll keep it classy. First up, Play a Train Song by Todd Snyder.
Hell yeah.
Next up, Listen to the Music by the Doobie Brothers.
Oh, very nice.
Big Thief's Not.
Okay, I think I know that one. I know Big Thief, but I don't know.
I love Not. That's such a fucking punk song. That's a folk song. It's great.
I might
have. Next up is Invitation to Understanding. Oh, I missed
it. Cut out a little bit.
Next one is next one was Invitation to Understanding by MXPX. So this was Left Behind's fault. All of the research and watching of movies of Christian theology, I think, messed up with my algorithm. Because man, am I getting a lot of Kirk Cameron shit on YouTube and a lot of Christian theology and stuff. And somehow I think that led to MXPX showing up randomly in my YouTube recommendation music page because they showed up. That was interesting. But I don't mind a little MXPX.
Yeah.
I'm okay. You're okay. Next up was a DIVORCE by Tammy Y. Net.
Nice.
And Count Me Out by Kendrick Lamar was the very last one that we'll end with. I listened to more, but those I'll just keep it like I said at 5. Don't want to occupy too much. But this, it's a movie about music, so we might as well talk about some music. So that's kind of what I listen to every day. A little assortment of bullshit. We then cut to our Say No More, More No More music video that they actually went and filmed for this. It was supposed to just be like a short little thing, and they had so much fun. They just like kept doing it.
Oh, hell yeah.
I think it shows. It's very funny.
It is.
And another scene that was cut because here Liv Tyler's younger sister shows up to give her a letter from Harvard telling her that she has been accepted to go to Harvard, and everyone gets all excited for Corey. This was not in the version I remember at all.
I forgot that this was a thing. Okay, so I have
this was one of the characters that was cut out because I did not remember Liv Tyler having a fucking sister.
Yeah.
Because she shows up for this one scene, and then I don't think ever again. Maybe she shows up at the end during the party and we miss her, but pretty much just during this scene.
Yeah, this is basically it.
Yeah. More deleted scenes. Joe asks Mark into his office, and he interrogates him, and Mark spills the beans on where Lucas is.
Oh, that's okay.
And then Lucas literally just fucking pops up out of nowhere, like literally just descends from nothingness. And he's there. And Joe is pissed about the $9,000, but he's not calling the police. He's not beating the shit out of him. Instead, he just wants to have him stay in the store and talk to him. Maybe the most unbelievable thing about this movie.
Right.
I think if they wanted to do a little bit better, they would have developed the relationship between Joe and Lucas a little bit more to get us to understand why Joe doesn't just fucking call the police on this guy. Like immediately, you stole $9,000 from me. Like I can't do anything without that money. Like what, I would be fucking pissed.
Oh, hell yeah.
I would have a hard time not killing a motherfucker if you stole $9,000 and you showed up like Lucas does in this movie.
Yeah, really.
With his like very smug philosophy, I would be like, I'm gonna bludgeon you. Anyway, so then we get the Dire Straits scene where they're playing Romeo and Juliet, and everyone is doing things. This is where Mark also gets very creepy as he kind of creeps up on a girl and tries to kiss her while she's not looking. And then ends up like kissing her foot, and she kind of gives him a weird look, and he scurries away like a little bunny. Yeah,
that was
Mark is a little weird. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, doesn't make himself the most endearing character. Not at that part. Now there's other parts where it's fine, totally great.
Yeah.
But
that's I was gonna say, like, the only problem with the fan edition is that we're this far, and this is kind of like we talked about with Independence Day as well, with the separate edition there. Is we're like 40 minutes into the movie, it feels like. And finally Deb shows up. And like we finally, and it takes that long for us to get to like something a little bit darker in this movie, which is her going through some of her like suicide that she just attempted and the recovery of that, and everyone being very like approaching it from a very, very different standpoint. Like AJ gets very confrontational. Coyote Shivers is very much like, what did I do? Is it my fault? And Lucas is very much like, just let her be. She's kind of fine. Even Joe is like, do you need help? Do I need to call your mom? All of those things. So everyone kind of approaches it in a different way. I really think that the movie does a really good job of that. Of like expressing like how people react when they see someone who either attempted suicide or like has been cutting themselves or anything like that, and like their reaction to seeing that. I think that you see a lot of that reaction. There is that initial like anger, like why did you do this? And it's like, and then you have those people that are like, well, what did I do to cause you to do this? And then so I think the movie does a great job about that. Like this is one of those parts where when people say this is a soundtrack in need of a movie, I'm like, I don't think you watch this part because this part's pretty good and better than a lot of other 90s movies do.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely.
In terms of like handling like sensitive issues, like, not too many other movies approach this one. Like you get abortion approached in several different 90s movies. And there's some like a lot of Richard Linklater stuff. There's that one, Suburbia, that 90s movie. That movie set in Austin, I believe. Or is it Dallas? I can't remember. But it's about the people hanging out outside of a gas station, not Jay and Silent Bob. It's very violent and racist by the end of it. But a very, very good Richard Linklater movie, as we're speaking of 90s movies.
Yeah.
I love that movie. I think you're also a fan of Suburbia too, aren't you?
Well, it's a different one that I'm into. I didn't know he made one called Suburbia. There's the Suburbia from the 80s that I like.
Oh, is that the one with the punkers, right?
Yeah. The one that your wife definitely can't watch that movie.
Yes. Too much dog stuff happened in that movie.
Especially because that was like, they really did harm those dogs. Like, that's not cool.
Art, don't question my art, Warren.
Yeah.
We also see Mark is blasting some hardcore with the boys until Eddie shows up and gives Mark what I assume to be weed brownies. We never get that confirmed. He's just full of sugar, but sugar, maybe that's code word for them. Who knows? Because Mark seems to mellow the hell out after that and stops listening to the suicidal tendencies and instead listens to some Pink Floyd. I like Floyd.
Yeah. Because he's got that mixtape for him and he has all these like really cool, like this dude, this
Eddie's into cool music.
Yeah, he's the
we find out by the end of it, because they have that whole like curbside talk about bands that Eddie doesn't like and bands that Mark does like, where they talk about Henry Rollins and several other bands. I love the talk they have about Henry Rollins. It's very funny.
That is awesome.
Might steal it for the show for this episode. We'll find out. All right. So this is also where Deb tries to get out of the room and she gets confronted by a couple different people. Joe breaks the news about Music Town and what's going to happen. But we cannot dwell, because today is Rex Manning Day. We mustn't dwell. Today is Rex Manning Day. And so we start to see the prep for Rex Manning Day. We get some more like deleted scenes here, because Mark, it talks about wanting to start a band. And he goes through all the whole stuff about trying to find members and talking about the name and talking to different characters about this band that he wants to form. Yeah, whole thing's a little bit different. We get a lot more of that.
Okay, it's probably good that they cut that down.
Yeah, we don't need to see all of that. We also get Warren, who shows up, and he's our shoplifter who will become a pivotal character in the movie. Funny fact about him, his stunt double actually got injured during the chase scene with the door.
Oh.
Yeah, he broke a rib in that scene.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that probably hurt. Yeah, it looks like he hits like the ground like a fucking quarterback, just down.
Oh yeah.
Gets sacked down. Yeah. So Gina, our lovely character, decides to challenge the dress code by stripping down to almost nothing. Rex Manning finally shows up and she introduces herself and asks how she may service him, which later on in the movie she does, as we find out.
Talk about foreshadowing.
Definitely some strong foreshadowing there. Definitely a strong foreshadowing with what's going to happen later. So Warren gets arrested by Lucas, and he just hangs out in the back for a portion of the movie until he gets taken away by the cops. But he shows back up at the end and proceeds to cause a little bit more chaos.
He kind of builds himself a little relationship with this group, you know?
Yeah. How old were you when you first saw this movie?
Oh God, I had to have been maybe 13, 14, maybe.
So I was like 15, 16. And as a kid, I really identified with like AJ and Lucas and Mark. As an adult, I'm identifying way more with Joe and Debbie Mazar's character.
Oh, absolutely.
Like way more than I did as a child. And I feel like that's kind of funny to watch as like an adult. Now to feel like, man, as a teen, I really thought being like someone like AJ or Mark would be like kind of funny or cool.
Yeah.
Like those are people I wanted to emulate, and that those personality types, like really into music and like funny. I wanted to work at like a record place. Like that would be fun.
Yeah.
And now as an adult, I'm like more leaning towards Debbie Mazar, where it's like, yeah, I'm kind of over this shit. Yeah. And I just kind of want to get paid and go home.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I've lost my passion. Yeah, maybe I'll find something else. We'll find out. Oh yeah. So Joe is frustrated and plays the drums because might as well. And the boys get to goof around and be a little musical with Warren and everyone. Yep.
Yeah.
Mitch shows up and asks for the money, and Joe gives him the fake bag of money.
Yep.
And then the man shows up and puts the clamp down on Warren, and that goes away. And this is when Liv Tyler demands to give Rex his lunch. And I can see why we cut out a lot of this stuff, because it takes a while for us to get to this scene. And so the thing that they add in this scene, it's the exact same thing. She puts on sexy music, puts on a big production for him, strips down naked, asks him if he wants, he asks if she wants to do this. She says yes. She is underage in the movie. That is very clear. She is 17, as she mentions at the beginning. He is not 17, very much in his late 30s, looks every bit of 38. As a 38-year-old, game recognized game. And he... In the edited version, I remember he like says okay, and he unbuttons his pants and kind of like insinuates that he just wants her to suck his dick. But in the fan edition, it's a little different. In that version, instead, he on his dick and then have her eat it off of it, which she is more disgusted about and leaves the room immediately. Which does two things: one, makes Rex look fucking sickeningly disgusting. And two, kind of explains her reaction in the theatrical version, because it definitely, she looks very, very disturbed by whatever it is he says. But what he does in the theatrical version is like not necessarily a good thing, obviously. Well, but no. It's not, his reaction is like, well, I don't know what you're upset about. Like, what did you expect? Like, this is what I'm a rock star. This is what we do. You give me head while I eat lunch, like, Well, Rex and so before Rex and Reese Witherspoon go have sex in the office, Reese Witherspoon, sorry, Renee Zellweger. Before Renee Zellweger, different movie. Before Renee and Rex go do it in the office, like all good couples do. Right. AJ decides now is the opportune time to tell Corey how he feels, and he won't take no for an answer because it's 1:37 exactly, Joe. And he's going to tell her. And he can't read a room, AJ can, because if he could have, this movie would have turned out very, very differently. It's the exact same thing that happens in Cant Hardly Wait, where he chooses the worst time to tell someone how he feels. Had he waited like 5 minutes before or after, situation would have changed. Maybe just check in first. Hey, is now a good time to talk? No? Cool. I'll come back.
Well, I think
your thoughts for a moment. Which she tells him now's not a good time, but he won't listen to her. He says, no, it has to be now. It has to. I got to tell you. Yeah.
I mean, how relatable is that, though? Just being a young guy that just cannot understand, I guess, a woman's signals at all,
Yeah, there's definitely some of that. So we also find out that she starts taking pills around this time. So AJ's all pissed about being in the friend zone, and this is kind of where it makes sense that the movie would take place over 2 days, because the next cut, it seems like time has passed, but it's only been like hours. But it would make more sense if it had been like at least like the next day, because then it would have given AJ time to like stir and like ruminate over things, and same thing with her to think about things for a minute. But that doesn't really happen. So just something that could have changed it. It was originally supposed to be over 2 days in the script. They shortened it to a single day. I can get why it was.
I can see the merits there for doing that. It just makes sense. And I also see the arguments.
He is a superb manager.
Oh yeah, superb. Say it again.
Superb. So we get this awkward fight as AJ. Everyone finds out that Rex has been having sex in the break room. Man! As soon as they come out, he kind of like, what? No round of applause for just fucking in the break room. And AJ's pissed at him, jumps on him, and starts beating the shit out of him. And so they get kind of a whole little thing there, and it doesn't go well for AJ.
No, it does not. I mean, well, he gets like sucker punched. He's being held
he does get sucker punched. He does get sucker punched. Yeah, but still, it doesn't go well for him. And this eventually leads to a panic attack because Liv gets called out for being a speed freak, and she gets pills thrown at her as Deb walks around yelling. Not Deb, sorry. As she walks
Gina.
around, Gina walks around throwing pills at her and yelling at her about how she was able to get to Harvard because she's a speed freak. She stays up all night, studies all day long, all these things that she definitely seems to be doing, as we've seen her at this point take at least 2 different pills. And go ahead.
What a freak out.
Oh yeah, it's a massive panic attack. Yeah, Liv Tyler does a really, really good job.
Oh yeah,
and Deb helps take her away because like this is immediately like these two characters don't like each other at the beginning of the movie. Like she flips her off. Deb does every time they interact, and like even Corey mentions like I don't know why she hates me. Like, I can't do anything about it. She just hates me. And then at this point, though, they bond over something, which I think she kind of realizes, oh, like this girl whose life I thought was perfect is also like very far from perfect. Right. Like, because she's literally doing like pills just to stay awake so she can study more. Yeah. So really good character development. Like, I like it. It's good. And I disagree with people when they say the plot's not pretty good, because I think it's a pretty well made little 90s teen flick. I mean, this was aimed at teens. Keep that in mind. This was a PG-13 movie, so we're aimed at the teen audience, and we're talking about some bigger issues than most teen movies do. You know, getting into drug addiction, getting into sexual assault, getting into consent. Getting into cutting, suicide, social alienation, just all kinds of stuff that I don't know if teen movies now do so or not. You know, I don't watch the teen movies, so no. I can't speak necessarily to their quality.
Do they even make teen movies anymore?
I mean, they're on Netflix now, so it's hard to say.
Oh, I see. I didn't think of that. I forgot about streaming.
So we get the scene where Gwar shows up and talks to Mark and eats him alive. Gina, Debbie Mazar's character, shows back up and hang out with Joe after she quit working for Rex Manning because the guys were giving her shit about it. And it is a good reason. They have a funeral for Deb where everyone gets to say their piece to her, like while she's alive, like a mock funeral, which is another cool little scene where we get some more character development where everyone kind of bonds over saying how they feel about each other. And it's a good scene, very memorable scene.
Yeah, well, and then of course Mark is just stuck at the register, freaking out.
Yeah, Mark is all alone and starts freaking out because he can't. And you kind of
get the idea, like he's really just, I don't know, like that's not his main job, I guess. Like I don't know.
No, I think he stalks pretty much, or maybe cleans. Basically. Based on that's pretty much it. Yeah. So then we play some Sponge, which is a song I associate both with this movie and with you. Anytime I think of Sponge, I think of that. Mitch shows back up and he wants the money because he realizes he got screwed over with the fake money. Joe quits in response and says he's going to start his own company, which of course he doesn't actually do and can't afford to do. Good.
But I was going to say we may have skipped some parts because Warren comes back.
Oh yeah, we're getting there. Yeah. Warren shows back up with a gun and starts threatening to kill everyone because they're doing like a massive everything must go sale, right? And Warren shows back up with the gun, but it's not a big deal, right? He doesn't get immediately killed like he would nowadays. Everything is fine. Everything is just fine.
And then, but didn't it turn out to be blanks?
Yeah, it's blanks. Yeah, it's blanks. Yeah.
So it was all performative.
It's a good thing he's a white kid. That's all I can say, right? Otherwise, the story would have ended very differently.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of that, there aren't really a lot of people of color in this movie. I can't lie. This is a very whitewashed movie.
And I am dumb enough. I didn't catch that till very recently.
I didn't. It wasn't a thing I noticed as a child either until I got older, and then I realized, like, oh yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah, they did. So that's a big downfall for it.
Yeah. So Sugar High is playing with Renee, and this is a very famous scene. And I love this version of the song specifically this version.
Yeah.
I think it's the best version of Sugar High that exists. Maybe the only Coyote Shiver song worth listening to.
Oh, 100%.
Hot take. Liv is looking for AJ, who's on the roof, of course, because that's where all children hang out in this movie, is on the roof. Mitch is overwhelmed at the register and decides to sell his dump to Joe. And so Joe quit like 10 minutes ago and then shows back up and reassumes ownership. So that was a weird plot development, but that happened. Kind of the only downside of this movie is like when you get to the end, it's basically just kind of falls apart, as it's just like, let's just have a party. And it's a party. And I think the Sugar High kind of exemplifies that, because like it is basically just like, how do we end this movie? Fuck it, let's have a concert. All right. So that's pretty much it. So AJ gets knocked on his ass and hit by Corey because he won't recognize he's so talented and he's so brilliant, and you need to go to art school. And he stops her and says, I'm going to go to Boston so I can be near you and Harvard. And we get our our classic little love story. It's imperfect, but not entirely perfect, because we have to end with the as we dance and have another dance scene. And then we get the credits. And I really love this. If you watch the credits all the way through, you see that Tobey Maguire is mentioned as someone under the name of Andre was going to be his character. His scenes are completely removed,
Yeah,
not added at all. We get our post-credit scene where they talk about Henry Rollins being a pussy and the Misfits versus Primus and how the Pixies are better than everyone.
Yeah.
Agree on some points, disagree on some others.
I will just, yeah. I like Primus.
Speaking of, I was going to say, I kind of shot the gun a little bit earlier there when I got into it before we got to the actual end of the movie. But thoughts on the movie? I'll keep it brief. I love this movie. It is a classic of mine. It's a cult movie that I will always go back to. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Whenever I first started teaching, we had to go around the room. I think there were 50 of us in the room learning to teach for the very first time, and we had to get to know each other. And they came to me, and the question was favorite movie, and without a second of thought, I said Empire Records. And one of the teachers looked at me and just gave me a look like, what? And I immediately knew I'm not in good company. I'm a minnow in shark waters here.
Yeah,
everyone else was like Godfather 2, Shrek.
Oh,
I'm like, get out of here with that shit. Empire fucking Records. No pretentious answer.
No.
Empire Records. If I'm being honest with you, it's either Empire Records or Cant Hardly Wait. 99% of the time, one of those two movies is my favorite movie to watch at all times. If I'm about to die, if I got told tomorrow I have cancer, I'm probably going to sit down and watch both of those movies again one last time because I really enjoy both of them, and they remind me of good times in my life. Thoughts on the movie before we talk about what we're going to get into next week?
Oh, man, same. I mean, I won't. It's definitely one of my favorite movies. It's definitely not. I wouldn't, if I was sitting at that same thing and they asked my favorite movie, I would have a much lamer response because mine's Footloose. But that
would have gotten you some jeers as well.
I think so. See, this is why I can't be a movie snob, is because those are my favorite movies, But this movie, it's so good. It's got that cult thing about it, like you were saying, whenever you mentioned it and you got no response, it's very much one of those, like, we seek out our own. we know we're among our tribe when we hear, when this movie is mentioned. It's like, okay, you're one of us, we're in the cult, like.
Yep, definitely.
So I like that. It's definitely like it's very much insular. That's us. So
hell yeah. Well, speaking of being in the cult, thank y'all for listening.
Yeah.
Coming along this week. Hopefully you've been joining us week after week. If not, come along. The Kool-Aid is great. The water is fine this time of year. We do an episode every single week. We're almost up to 100 subscribers on YouTube. Last time I looked, we were up to about 97, 98. So if you know anybody else who you think would be interested, tell them about us. Or maybe you have a sock puppet account that you could log into and send us another subscribe that way, because that's also appreciated. Every little bit helps. Next week, we're going to continue talking about elephants in the room, playing off of our Independence Day episode from last week, as we are going to talk about A Boy and His Dog. That's going to be a big one next week. A movie that I own 3 copies of.
Awesome.
So going to be a fun time to talk about that. And so thank you guys for listening, and we will see you next week as we talk about the end of the world once again.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Take it easy.
Hot damn, college boy. Thank you so much for listening. Every single week we come back with a new movie about the end of the world, or a movie about the beginning of the end of the world, or what happens after the end of the world, or maybe one day we just decide to watch Showgirls. Who knows? Right? But every week we are coming back, and thank you so much for stopping in this week and listening to the whole episode and hearing our thoughts on whatever train wreck of a movie I chose to force my friend to watch this week. I'm a good person like that. And thank you for also being a good person. There you go. If you want to be a really, really fucking cool person, which you obviously are, why don't you give us a like, and actually, more importantly, give us a subscribe. I find that to be more important. I don't know if the algorithm says it is. I don't really give a shit. But thank you for your patronage either way, and clicking all the things and doing all the stuff. Bye. Thanks.
The old, in with the new kind.
Oh, evolution's a bad thing, and Primus is what's gonna come around.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the fact that Primus has nothing, man. They've got, like, good bass lines. I'll admit
They have
that.
beautiful bass
Okay,
lines.
but they're not as
Six-string
good
fretless bass.
They're not as good as
All right, this guy is
like the
incredible.
Pixies.